Yes. Okay, so everybody asks me what my favorite comic book is, and they're always shocked when I tell them because it's just an average comic. It's not anything super special or super expensive. Daredevil 158. Daredevil number 158 was late 70s. A comic came out in the late 70s. It was the first Daredevil comic that Frank Miller drew. And that's great, but that wasn't why it was special. I had that comic. It was 40 cents. I bought it for 40 cents. I mowed lawns and raked, and I bought that comic for 40 cents. And I was reading another comic, and inside the comic there was a little 2-page price guide inside. And it had Daredevil 158, and it was listed for $20. That was like $1 million to me. $20. So many comics I could buy with that. It's crazy. I can get $20 for this comic. So I wanted to sell it. And I begged my stepmother to take me to the comic store. And she didn't like going to the comic book store because she had to drive, and I would be in there for hours, and it was not something she was interested in. But I told her, it's money. It's $20. I'm going to get $20. Did you see how? Look. So she took me to the comic store, and I went up the stairs, and I went to the counter, and behind the counter was the manager, who was like a god to me. I mean, he was everything I wanted to be. And I went up there, and I had my comic. I put it on the counter, and I said, Daredevil 158. I saw it's worth $20, and I want to sell it. And he looked at it, said, it's a reprint. It's not worth 50 cents. I give you 50 cents in credit. That's the best I can do. And I looked at my stepmother, and she was tapping her foot, and she was like, come on, let's go. And I said, okay. And I took the 50 cents credit, and I picked up a King Conan comic. And I'd never read any Conan comic before, but it was thick. And I went to my stepmother and lied to her. I was like, this is even better than $20. This is worth more than $20. I had to, and drove home, like what just happened. And then a few weeks later, my brother took me back to the comic store. And I went in, and I walked by the counter, and the manager was there, and behind him, hanging on the wall, was Daredevil 158. And had a price tag of $20. And I pointed to it and I said, that's my comic book. And he said, no, kid, that's my comic book. And I sort of broke a little bit because it's not just that this man who meant so much to me had done this to me, because there was no reprint of that comic. There is no reprint of Daredevil 158. It was that I didn't know people did that to each other. I hadn't learned that yet. So it scared me, and it hurt me. And I told my brother, I want to leave. I don't want to come back here again. I didn't want to come back to a comic book store because it represented fear and lying and cheating and stealing and anger and hate. All of it represented that now for me. I couldn't go in there anymore. It affected me for a long time. So all these years, I own more copies of Daredevil 158 than anybody I know. I just buy it. I see it, I buy it. Beat up copy, I buy it. High grade copy, I buy it. In another country, in another language, I buy it. It's not that I'm trying to recapture that comic that I got, that got stolen from me all those years ago. It's that every time I buy it, I recapture something good, a reminder of something. So every employee that I ever have, the first day that they start, I give them a copy of Daredevil 158. I tell them the story. And then I tell them, this represents everything we are not. We do the opposite of this. There's the villain, there's the hero. We're the hero. No child will ever leave my store, ever, feeling anything but it's safe, it's good, I learned something good, and I want to come back.
Thank you for watching A Wise Way. Subscribe to stay updated, share to pass the knowledge, or view our other videos on the left.